Well, I'd say now is a pretty good time to be able to touch up on something that hasn't been talked about very much for a few years. Back in June 2020, I basically unveiled a second season. A small series of questions that relate to a special topic I made called Why Is That? And this became its own series. A standalone project that I basically carried out, and even to this day I've talked about. If you remember from the Vlogathon 5.0, for example, then this is pretty much a good baseline to ensure that sometimes certain projects can be revisited. In the same way that I've been able to revitalize such projects like the Vlogathon, I'd say it's about time I did the same in more recent times with Why Is That? And because this has been having some overwhelming demand by my subscribers, followers, and whatever you like to call them in any other way, I'd say now, here, it's about time that we get back to it. This is Why Is That 3.0. Or Season 3, depending on what you want to call it. But no matter the case, I basically have myself some updates for the time, including this giant Broly long sleeve tee, which I can't believe I got this thing for free. It's only a 1XL, but I'm sure I'll eventually fit into it. It's probably one of those pieces of clothing I gotta start breaking into. It kind of fits a little tight, but no matter the case, let's just get going here. Of course, you're also familiar with the new iPhone I picked up last year, but any other way you look at it, let's just get going to the questions. And I've got screenshots worth of lots of things that people have been asking me about. In the comments section, mostly in private messaging, or of course, on some of my videos. And because there are a lot of videos on my channel, you'd have to do a lot of research just to find out where they are. So, with that in mind, I'm just simply going to cut right to the chase and begin with one question in particular that simply says, why is that you don't answer everybody's questions? I feel like that this one is a really obvious piece, especially from people who don't already understand about my current work as is, nor the routine that I have outside of my media and other social networking. YouTube is not an everyday importance, and that's what we gotta realize. It's one thing if I were to have an enormous viewership and subscriber count, which in turn could allow me access to various benefits from Google themselves. Being that I had already become a part of their AdSense partnership program, where I could utilize ad revenue as a way to make some additional cash for myself, that was a whole endeavor by itself. But because of the many new guidelines that have happened over the past 10, 15 years, it's safe to say that by now, in 2023, the things that we had done on YouTube are a whole lot different. And because June 2020 was already a big time, a part of our history that I'll truly never forget, I'd say by now, with nearly 3 years that have passed, I've got no other way to put it together other than just in this exact statement. I don't get to answer everybody's questions here because I'm way too busy. And I feel like that should hopefully reflect on the many people who want to understand exactly why I may not be as active on some social media platforms. And on top of all that, look at all the stuff that we've had to deal with. I feel like that it's safe to say that we're just not going to have a whole new thing that's just going to become more positive. The negatives are always going to manage to catch up to us. But by this point in time, we're going to have a whole big year ahead of us. And I'm sure to say that people out there who are wanting to see me answer their questions, by this point, they will finally get the chance to see that happen. If you yourself have commented on my videos, or left me a message of any sorts, private or public, expect your questions to be answered as soon as possible, if not today. So of course, the main problem is just the fact that time constraints are always a big thing for me. Combined with the many other jobs I've had to focus my life on just to gain all the assets I'll need financially to keep myself stable at all times. I gotta put food on the table every day. I gotta go make myself fit and healthy at Planet Fitness. I gotta go occasionally take my car in for some repairs like what just happened last night. I ended up getting a muffler replaced and the exhaust upgraded to 2 holes. Yeah, I mean, even that itself is a bit of a far-fetched thing because it is mostly an option. The muffler and exhaust are somewhat negligible pieces, as opposed to some other parts, like tires, the windshield, the battery, or even any of the tail lamps. Because any of those could definitely cause unwanted attention. But now, here comes the biggest point of my perspective. At least to give you a more proper answer and to get straight onto the point without any more beating around the bush, the main reason why everybody's questions may never get answered immediately after they've been uploaded to the internet is because I have a life. It's not just with my work. The jobs I get that I get paid for, the jobs I might sometimes do as voluntary or tribute work for some communities out there that are in need of help. And at times, there's all these other services and odd jobs I might also do to gain additional profits. I have a life out here. I basically have Choo Choo the Yorkie as well as a younger brother. In case you had not already noticed, yes, that is basically just a big part of the subject. If you've been following my Instagram, then you definitely know what these two are. And if that's not a good enough example to serve exactly what has been going on in the past 3 years since I last did Why's That, then hopefully now you might notice. Sometimes it's just good to have yourself some time off from the work that you typically do. And on top of all that, the many people who might get to your channel after so many years of it being around, they're finally starting to notice the content that I've been making. And I'd say in the past 6 months, all of 2022 has definitely been a huge turning point. And I declare this whole thing related to a period in my history on the internet called the resurgence period to be over. That's right. As of today, January 29th, 2023, is when I declare the resurgence period to be over. After almost 5 years, since I had popped back up on YouTube after more than 5 years of being offline. From the blackout period, of course. Then before that there was the primordial era, but that's besides the point. Right now, we're basically heading into a whole new era in my life on the social network. Whether it be on YouTube, or on Twitter, or on Instagram, or potentially on other platforms that I have used every now and then, and some that I've tried and failed to get a beat on, hopefully now you get to know there's a lot more to it than just me answering some questions. Why's That has been a thing that I've occasionally held back for many reasons. Not just with content that I brought back, like the vlogathon, as I've said before, but also with newer content. Every year I try to put in something brand new for the channel and also make that the next best thing. But it seems that with every year, it's been a bit of a trial and error sort of session. In 2021, I was able to create a survival series, but that only lasted so long and eventually dried up by the end of the year. And then there was Multiple Wheels of Steel for 2022. But that only got so far as well because the combination of extreme economic changes, mostly in relation to an ongoing warfare happening on the other side of the world, has simply left people a little more paranoid and concerned about certain things in their life, like their cars. As I've said before, it wasn't very easy back then, and it's going to be way more difficult today. because since car prices are surging up way too high nowadays, it just seems that people are going to be even less confident about lending their cars to me for a review on YouTube. I may never get the chance to be like Seb Kyle 04 or Doug DeMuro or Cereal Marshmallows, One Owner Car Guy, or anyone else who's done any of that stuff. And so, try as I might, but even to this very day, I'm sure that something else will come by and it just might not work out, just like any of the others. I feel like that's some of the best I've put up so far, is gaming with Kaiju Force Neo, because there's just so much going to it right now. All the new gaming ideas I've put together for series and whatnot. Then there's Hot Wheels Hilarity, which has been getting so huge that it has been surpassing every other video on my channel, especially Season 7 alone has had a combined total of about a few million views. All 44 episodes that are currently uploaded, with another one coming tomorrow, January 30th. So do be prepared for that moment. Any other way you look at it though, I'm not really going to go off on too much detail here because I might just be wasting time here. So anyways, the answer to that question in particular is that I've got a little too much work in my hands, too big of a life to worry about, and then of course, lots of different ideas that have also distracted me from being able to come back to Why Is That. But as of today, that's gonna change. I'm gonna make this, as well as a couple of other older series on the channel, a primary objective. And so, all my priorities are gonna be straightened, and hopefully you guys enjoy what's left to come here. Throughout the next few months, I'm definitely gonna be having a lot of new ideas, and hopefully they'll be more grandeur and even better than what you might expect. So with that in mind, welcome back to Why Is That, and you better stay tuned for more of these questions that are finally going to get answered. And make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.